Ladies and gentlemen, now we go discuss responsiveness in CSS. This topic now something where we say most people don't ask me about when you go talk about CSS responsive design. But today I go show you how you go use responsiveness to make your website better for your viewers, both for people where they use big screens and those where they use small screens like mobile phones and tablets. Now, wetin responsiveness dey about? Here sells responsive design. Na im we take dey lay out how our website go be depending on the screen size wey our readers dey use. We dey use CSS responsive design to adjust the size of the images, the text, the headings, how the divs go dey structured and everything else so that e no go look the same everywhere. You go adjust to the kind of screens wey our users dey browse with. Now, first thing wey you wan do for responsiveness na say you wan use this meta tag, this meta name viewport and content width, device width. Na im go tell your browser say first of all, this width to device width means say show my website based on the width of the device wey the users dey use. Because sometimes you go enter one website for your phone, e go still dey show big website like e dey show for computer, and your readers go gats dey scroll arrow to the left and right to view am because the content dey bigger than the screen of the phone. With this meta tag, na you go take tell the browser say show the content with the device width. Then this initial scale of 1, e mean say no zoom am and no reduce am. Make the scale be as e be for my design. No need to zoom, which will be scale of ×2. No scale am ×2 or reduce the scale. Just set am as e be. Now, after you set this simple meta, the next thing na to back dey create your CSS. Now, e get two ways wey we take dey make responsive designs for CSS. The first na wetin we dey call mobile first design. The second we dey call am large screen first design. For mobile first design, e mean say you want code your initial CSS based on the way wey e go look on mobile. This one na the standard way we dey use nowadays because most of our viewers na mobile phones they go dey use to browse our website. So we wan focus on mobile first before we adjust for bigger screens. Now, you go don already know wetin you want your website to look like on mobile, on tablets, and on laptop. So you fit either start from the biggest one or from the smallest one. If you start from the biggest one, na im we dey call large screen first. And if you start from the smallest one, na im we dey call mobile first design. How we take dey do responsiveness for CSS na through media queries. With media queries now, you fit specify wetin your website go look like depending on the screen size, but you gats dey adjust am incrementally. Na why we dey start from one part. If you start from mobile first, then you go dey adjust your CSS based on larger screens. But if you start from large screen first, then you go dey adjust your CSS based on smaller screen. All of these ones fit no make sense to you now, but once we start our example with actual media queries, you go understand. Now, make I use this example code to show you how we take dey achieve responsiveness for CSS. For our example code, we get 3 divs. These 3 divs get the same items and we put them inside container. Our container, we give them class of container, and all our items, we give them class of items. Now with CSS, we go make our container flex box and we go give up display flex. Now we will give them flex direction of color. Why? Because we did focus on mobile first. If we give them be flex direction of row, which is the default, everything go dey side by side. But our laser screen fit no dey big enough to accommodate everything side by side. But if we stack them on top each other, e go fit show for our smaller screen. So because we dey do mobile first design, we start with flex direction of color. Now later on, with media queries, we go on change them to side by side for larger screens. But for now, may we continue with our flex direction of color. Now, we also want increase the font and we want increase the padding. Once we don't set up this basic CSS for our website, which is how it go look for our phone. We fit come start to dey write media queries to show how it go be on bigger screens. To write media queries, you go first write at media, then you go open bracket and specify wetin we dey call break points. Break points na the point wey be say you want make the new CSS styles start to dey apply. For our ablet, we specify a breakpoint of mid width 768 pixels. We dey talk say this breakpoint na minimum width of 768 pixels. Na the breakpoint wey we use for tablet with that. For laptop, we use minimum width of 1024 pixels. Now, wetin this one mean? Shey you guys memorize these breakpoints? No, you no need to memorize these breakpoints. In fact, you don't even need to use the same breakpoints every time. You fit easily Google wetin the breakpoints be for each kind of device. But if you understand the meaning behind why would they use these breakpoints, you sef go fit deduce the right breakpoints for yourself. Which way we mean by this mean width of 768 pixels? Right? Say we dey tell our CSS say once the screen of the users wey dey enter this my website, once their screen dey as big as 768 pixels, once e big at least 768 pixels, na im make you start to dey apply these styles wey I write for here. So if this screen no dey as big as 768 pixels, you no go apply any of these styles. And mobile phone screens no dey big as 768 pixels. Most of them na around 320 to 500 max or 600 max. So everything will fall under that, even if na 10 pixels under, even if na the smallest phone in the whole world, he go still lose all this CSS we write for up here. But once with unreached mean width of 768 pixels, which is normally tablets, now they get this kind of width where they wide like this. Once it can reach there, it will come start to dey apply these styles where we write on that. So now for this mean width, we want to make our font size increase and we want to make our padding too increase. And then instead of flex direction of column, because now our width don't increase, we fit put our divs side by side and it will still make sense. So because our screen don't increase, we go change our flex direction to be row inside the curly braces. Now after we go all increase our breakpoint again, we go undo mean width of 1024 pixels, which is for laptop. Why we dey do this one? Because when the screen decrease for laptop, we also want make the font dey bigger and we want make the padding too dey bigger. Of course, we want make the flex direction still be row, but we no need change am here again because we don't already change am for the minimum of 768. So it will still apply for this one as well. All we need to do here is just to increase our font more and our padding more. So the first CSS ring right up here now for screens wey dey less than 768. And then once you reach 768, it will change to this CSS. And then once it change to this 1024, you could apply this CSS as well. You see, said the only things will change for these media queries, that the things where we change. All the other things where we touch, all the other CSS properties where we apply, where we touch, cause still they did. Now only the things where you want to change depending on the screen size, now you go change with this media query. If you use media query, do anything. If you use and change background color, if you use and make things disappear, if you use and change how divs they arranged, how big your text size is, how big your images, whether the display they hidden or you go show out if you use media query. Now, make I show you all of these things with actual example of the websites. We go build these websites. I will go make them look like this for mobile, like this for tablets, and like this for laptop. Again, we will do mobile first. We go begin with the CSS for how we want to make our website look for mobile. We go put everything inside container. This container, we go call our main page. Then we go set this main page to display flex. And for our flex duration, we will make a column so that everything goes stack on top each other. Then for our header, the container we hold all our header, we go make them stick to the top with position sticky and top 0. We go also give them background and box shadow and z index. This z index now so that e go always dey on top of the other element because we don't give am position sticky. And you say, well, we scroll, e go still stick to the top, and we won't make it on top anything else where they that place. Now why we give am this Z index of 1000? You know, usually it give am 1000. 1 day enough, 2, 3, 5, 10. You fit use any figure where you like as long as it dey higher than 0. Now for nav, we go make am display flex, we go make am justify contempt of flex between, we go align items to the center, and we go give am padding. For our menu button, which is the menu image class, na the 3-line menu we would call hamburger menu. This hamburger menu we want make it show only on mobile. So we will give am, to start, we'll give am display block so that it go show for this mobile setup. But eventually we will use media query to hide am so that it no go show for laptop and big screens. Now we go also style our links. We go style these links for how we want make it show when it is show, but we don't want make it show on mobile. All of these styles will we give them now how it go show once it starts to the show. But for now, we will give them display of none so that it dey hidden on mobile by default. If we set the display to block, flex, or any other display, you go show. But for now, we don't want make it show, so we set them to display none. Then we set these all other properties for our navigation links. Now for our card grid, which is the div we contain our content, we go make them display grid. And we go all make this grid a 1-column grid. We give them just 1 FR, meaning just 1 column of 1 fraction. Then we set our gap and our padding. We go still increase the columns depending on our screen size. But again, we dey start with mobile first. Now why we give them 1 column of 1 FR. Then we style our individual cards. We add padding, we add image width and height, and then we see our final result of how it will look on mobile. You see, say on bigger screens, it still look the same way, but we could change them. We could change them by adding breakpoints and media query. So on tablets, again, now the same rules do am at media, open bracket, close bracket, right? The mean width, the breakpoint. Then on that, we want show our navigation links, and we want hide our hamburger image. So we set our navigation links display from none to flex. We change the position to static, and we remove the box shadow. Then we also remove the border of our navigation links, and we change the padding and the margin. Finally, our grid, we make have 2 columns instead of 1. Since we get the size to accommodate 2 columns now, because our width don't dey bigger, we use 1 FR, 1 FR, which is the same thing as repeat 2, 1 FR, which is just saying we want 2 columns, each of 1 fraction. Now, all of these go apply for our bigger screen. Any screen with it bigger, and this 768 will be set for here. Everything go apply. But you see, say as we dey increase this window, it change. But even if we dey increase and they go, it still no go change. And if we turn them to full laptop screen, it still no go change. If we want change them for bigger laptop screen, we go add another breakpoint as we do before. Now, for this bigger laptop screen, we go change our column to be 3 grid column. So we will use 3 1 FR, which is still the same as writing 1 FR, 1 FR, and 1 FR. Now, as our screen they get bigger, our CSS could change. You go first turn to 2 column, then it goes turn to 3 column. I remember, we no need to always begin with mobile first. I tell you now the standard nowadays with that and at the best practice, because most of our users now mobile that they use. But if you also use large screen first, if you want do am, now basically the same thing with one major change in the breakpoint. Now may I give you example to show you. We go back to our first code, but instead of starting with mobile first now, we go start with laptop first. Because we do laptop first now, we will change our flex direction to start with row, which is the same thing as not writing any flex direction. I tell you, with flex box, the flex direction now automatically row if you no write anything. So if we delete this column, it will become row. Then we go change our font to be the biggest and the padding to be the biggest. Now, for our mean width, for our media query, for our breakpoints, we no fit use mean width again since we dey start from the largest screen. Now we go use max width. We go save for the max width of 768, which is for tablets. Change the styles to this one. Take a VM like this. For mobile first, we use mean width to say if the width, now wetin we write and above, that if it is at least this width, change the CSS. For this one too, my like that, but we use max width to say if the screen at this size or below, use this one. But for everything where they above then, which is laptop and bigger screen, use the main one where we write before. Now, we will change our flex direction and we will change our padding and font size. And everything is supposed to work as well as before because now pretty much the same thing. We just we said before, we start with mobile first and we use min width as our breakpoint. But now we start with laptop first and we use max width as our breaking point. Ladies and gentlemen, now the end of our CSS series of tutorials with this. If you don't make out this far, that means you don't learn a lot about CSS. You don't learn how to do basic CSS stylings, change fonts, colors, style images, style lists. You don't know how to do layouts. You don't know how to do relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky layouts. You don't know how to use display flex, and you don't know how to use Greek display. And you don't even now come learn how to make your website day responsive with CSS. You don't go far. You deserve a round of applause. But Sagi, just like everything for programming, this is not the end. Even something like CSS, don't they very advanced? There's a lot where you still you continue to the learn for CSS. If you learn animations with CSS, if you learn how to use functions and variables with CSS. But no need to worry about all that for now, because for now you don't get the basic knowledge as a beginner to move on to JavaScript. For JavaScript now, you're going to learn how to apply dynamic styles, how to use JavaScript to apply CSS to your website based on conditionals. You will check if your users don't click something, and then you will use that if to change the style. If you change colors, background, everything depending on what your users they do. My JavaScript, we take they do that one. We get free JavaScript tutorial for this page, but we also get paid courses. The difference from the free and paid courses, and I say the paid courses get projects where if you take practice and actually build things with what you they learn, because if you just they learn tutorials and you know they build, it thing no fit enter your head well. But for now, if you relax, drink better gari with cold water and enjoy your night because you don't try. See you in the next lesson.